I have grabbed the transmission out from underneath the steps. It's been sitting there for a while. Again, this is a Turbo 350. I know it to be good. That's why it's going in here. And what I'm realizing, and you can't quite see it from there, which I'll adjust the camera here in just a moment, is that the transmission is sitting pretty high in relation to the frame, which will, of course, take up my foot room near the pedals, and will also create a transmission tunnel and drive shaft tunnel that will be pretty intrusive as well. Now, I did expect this, but I have to question whether the 3-ish inches that I have this mocked up at the front side here and bolted to the transmission mount, whether this is actually going to be the best case scenario, or I can actually afford to lower everything down a little bit more. I will probably have to revisit my scaled drawing and CAD stuff to make sure that I have all this right. I did build this to what I had planned, so it is built to what I planned, but of course it is difficult to see what it's actually going to look like in real person, in real life, when you get all this stuff situated. So we'll see where this goes. I think it's time to go back to the drawing board, literally. I'm really concerned right here on the driver's side of the transmission bell housing to the frame rail. Right now, this is all planned out that the firewall is actually the back of the block as well. So this joint where the two mate together is actually where the current firewall sits. That's really concerning because the foot room that's over here right now is only I don't know, maybe 6 inches or so. That's not going to cut it. So might need to do some more mock-up stuff before we land everything hard, which is exactly why we're doing this. So we'll see. Alright, so I'm going to show you what this looks like at the moment. You can kind of see this thing is basically, it's nice and plumb right now, or nice and level. To be honest with you, I don't know that it will be in the end, but you can kind of see it's pretty well level. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board, like I say. We'll have to see. But right now, you can kind of see there's like no room here. No room at all. And again, this is where the firewall would be, is right about here, which means my gas and brake pedal will probably be out in here somewhere. You can kind of see. So this just all looks a little bit too tall. We'll see what happens. Alright, so curiosity has gotten the best of me before I go back into the computer, and I took a measurement from center of the crankshaft to the bottom of the oil pan on my small block, and it's 8 inches, give or take ½ inch or so. I'm not completely convinced that I have this exactly where it's supposed to be with the 2 pieces of 2x4 under it, but as of right now, this sits at roughly 10 inches, 10 1/8 or so. This likely is supposed to come down just a little bit. I don't know, man. It's pretty clean. Let's just assume that it's where it needs to be. That means I have roughly 2 inches of clearance inside the frame for my oil pan. So the bottom of the oil pan is 2 inches up inside the bottom of the frame. That 2 inches, I don't really want to give it up. I'd like to protect the oil pan a little bit more. You know, if I happen to get a flat or something and this thing drops down 3 inches or so, gets super close to the road, that would not be ideal. So, I don't know. I'm going to have to think on this one. We'll see what happens. If it does consume this much space inside the floor, up at the toe area or the footwell, I'm not terribly concerned because I'm putting my seats clear back here. and so my footwell can afford to move back away from the firewall slightly and still be okay. So I may actually have to, surprisingly, I may have to mock up some seats on the table here, and now that I have the transmission in place, see where my feet are actually going to rest. So maybe we'll try that next. All right, well, you'll see that these seats are a little odd looking, a little new, a little modern, but to be honest with you, they're going to get covered, recovered, and the reason I went with them is, one, they were free, and two, they're narrow. They're narrow enough for myself to fit in, as well as my transmission tunnel will dictate the width of the seats, really. So I'll recover these, they'll look better. As of right now, there's hardware and seat brackets on here that really are not going to work for what we're doing right now. Not bad brackets. They're a little weird though. Pointed the wrong way. They're angled and they're pointed so that the seat is pointed downward in the front, which is a little odd. However, it did come, these seats, somebody mounted them in a Dodge Charger, I think it was, is what I was told they came out of. Very interesting seats. Clearly that's why they came back out too. They were not the best looking seat for a muscle car for sure. And I'm not really sure why the mounting stuff isn't working either. So really like to pull this bracket out of here. Alright. There we go. Apparently it was stuck where it was. Alright, so there's that. Now I should be able to do a couple things here. I'm going to, so one side of the seat for right now is going to sit on the frame rail, because I know that I'm going to move this all the way out as far as I can. And the other, for the moment, in order to equal the 4 inches, will sit on a couple pieces of tubing. Interesting. It's a good match. This bracket stuff is weird, man. There we go. Okay. Now we're looking better. There we go. This probably is quite close to where it will sit, which is good because I'm looking down the center here, and it's just going to let the it is just going to let the transmission tunnel through there. We'll see what happens here. Check a few more things. Alright, we can afford to scooch this over just a bit more. There we go. That's probably about as good as I'm going to get it right now. I don't know that I want to sit on this because it's a little precarious. Ooh, yeah, this is, ow. This is, it's pretty sketchy at the moment. I see what's going on. We can fix that. Alright, we're getting somewhere. What I'm doing is just adding a few spacers so that this is not so precarious when I try to sit on it, because I really want to get a feel for where my feet are going to be when this thing's all laid out. This is going to be okay, so this will be interesting. This will be the first time that I've sat in this situation. Obviously, this is the first time the transmission's been put in place, first time the seat's been put in place, roughly where it will be. And I do know that this to be roughly where it will be based on the frame back here, and assuming I'm going to shove the seat pretty well all the way back. At this point, I need to figure out how to get myself up there. That's not an easy task. Alright, so I do know this actually isn't terrible. I do know that I'm going to have a little bit of foot room to my left here. I know that because where I have my body mount is actually part of the subframe, the meatiest part of the subframe where there's a big rib on the top is actually here, so that means I still have a little bit more beyond that. Means I can rest my foot safely about here. If I can create a pocket, which actually my toe completely extended does not reach the transmission engine mating surface, so that means I can actually stretch my whole leg out here, and I could put my throttle here and my brake right here. So this is actually not terrible. This is super close. The transmission tunnel, I do know that I can afford to come over when this thing's all said and done. I can afford to move this seat over probably another 2 inches or so, which is about what I need on this side. So this isn't actually, side to side isn't actually where this will sit. This will sit a little bit further left, and that just actually makes it even better, I think. So actually this isn't bad. I'm pretty excited about this. The fact that my feet cannot touch what will be the firewall, that's really good, because I can afford to set my seat brackets where I want them and still be able to adjust this. My wife would like to drive this. This will be one of my hot rods she can drive. So yeah, this is good. This is very good. What this does tell me, actually, a little bit concerning, my firewall is clear out there. My dash, while I put a 51 dash in and it's fairly thick, it is certainly not going to bring my steering wheel to a comfortable spot without looking ridiculous. So I will have to readdress that. Maybe these seats move forward a couple of inches. I could technically, if I put my foot like this comfortably, looks like I've got a good 4 inches I could move forward. I just have to watch my throttle and brake pedal positioning, whether I have enough room for it. This, we'll see. This is looking alright. I might need to show a few things here. So, the 29 Model A is not the only thing I've got, as you can see back here. This is Marge. Marge is 64C10. Small block 350. T5 5-speed. 8.8 rear end. I don't know, whatever they call it. Positive traction, sure grip, whatever. It's all the Chevy stuff. I don't know what Ford calls it. Anyway, it's an 8.8 Ford Explorer rear end in here, which is why it has these rims on it. And as you can see, I tried to get rid of the kind of all the shininess that is in the front, and I kind of painted it like the Torque Thrust D wheels, and it muted it quite a bit. So, and speaking of Torque Thrust D wheels, this is my son's Maverick, 73 Ford Maverick 302 FMX transmission, which was a pretty beefy transmission for that thing. But anyway, that's my son's 73 Maverick. And at some point I'll have to show you my 69 Plymouth Valiant that is in the garage, the other garage. You know what? This cam doesn't matter actually. All I'm really trying to do with this is get this engine centered side to side, which is perfect. It's done what it needs to do. I'll probably shim it. I cut it just a tiny bit slack so that it would actually drop in between the rails. It's looking pretty good. All I really need to do is center these. And it doesn't need to actually be pulled tight against the block. I just needed to keep it centered and vertical. Well, and it has done exactly that. So, one of these holes kind of tight. They definitely are at the moment. But either way, this looks pretty good actually. This looks pretty good. So, okay, well, I've leveled my table, and yeah, can't quite see it there, but this thing's a ways out of whack. It's good. This is what's good about this is I'm holding this plate flush with the bottom of this side of the frame rail, flush with that side too as well. So that is good. What I need to do is really figure out how to keep it there once I get my height correct. Honestly, what I need in order to do that is to project a line off of my tabletop out here and check my height from the top of that, or rather from the bottom of it, probably my level. 4 foot level. I'll check from the bottom of it, which is the top of the tabletop, up to the center of this and make sure I'm where I'm supposed to be. And I'll have to look back at my computer, but I want to say, we'll have to check and see. Essentially, it's supposed to be, I've got it set up to be level through here, which, 8.375 is where I have the center line of the entire rotating assembly. In order to do that, that means this has to come down a ways. And also what that means is that the rotating assembly will be dead parallel with the ground. And generally, I have not set up engines like that. Generally, I've got about 2 to 3 degrees angled toward the rear. So that's nothing wrong with any of this happening, but I do have to watch when my cylinder heads are on here and my exhaust ports are here. I need to make sure I don't get too low that I can't get any kind of an exhaust system or an exhaust manifold or header in here. As you can see, it's already very tight. It's only 21 inches between the frame rails. That is very tight. What dictated that width? I probably could have fudged it a little bit more, but what dictated that width was the cowl on the body. And so the outside of these frame rails pretty much matches up with the extent of the cowl or firewall. So I'm going to drop this down a bit. Looks like I was smart and managed to get this through here. Not what I was trying to do. So there's that. Wonder how that looks now. As you can see, pretty well flat. Like it's sitting quite nice. Let's see what we got now. There is 8 and 5/8, 8 3/4 or so. There, perfect. So now I still don't have my height set, but I do have definitive side to side, and I've only got a tiny bit of slack. Perfect amount for this right now because it let me move up and down. So. Yeah, this is 8. This will be good also because now I'm able to take some definitive measurements to keep this block 8.375 and everything else for that matter nice and level. So, and I am currently. I do need to re-level my chassis and my table because I shoved it back, and of course the concrete
so I'm about a quarter inch high
from what I. So when I re-level my table. And then once I've re-leveled the table, the chassis, and everything's level again, then I can go ahead and actually put the level on here. Very easy for me right now to just know that this has to be on plane. And to be honest with you, I could have probably. My big thing that I'm struggling with right now is I need to make sure that Fusion 360 and gotten all of this sorted out exactly, so when I burned out this template plate height, I would have known exactly where it was. What I don't want to do, but I will say that in scaling. In Fusion 360, it is not perfect from what I planned because there's some clearances in the front of it that to be spot on. So, meaning, I only trust this so much when I scaled it in Fusion 360. But I'm pretty happy with this actually. So, what this has done, I'll show you a little bit more. Alright, so as you can see, I've shot this level out here, and as of right now, I am almost spot on at 9.5 inches. I think that's actually very close to what I'm supposed to be, but it might be just a tiny bit high. Alright, so to be perfectly honest, I tacked this in once already and I screwed it up. So, I'm going to try for a little bit better Try this again. Simple little tack. Let's double check this. Yep. Now we can afford to push down on this side just a tiny bit and tack it. Let me be smart and move my towel to this side to keep stuff out of this block. So there we go. Should be okay. Check that level again. Yep, there we go. That'll work. Just give one little tap here, a little up tap. So, what does this all mean? You can kind of see. Yep, you can see pretty well. My oil pan back here, this will be the bottom of the frame. The table will be the bottom of the frame. So right now, my oil pan is roughly 3/4 of an inch or so, maybe an inch, tucked up inside the chassis. The transmission pan is up in here a ways as well. There you go. Let's get you on plane with that. So I'm not too worried about this. And you can kind of see here, this is up inside the frame right now, which is exactly what I was hoping for. I kind of wanted it a little bit higher than that, but this is not terrible. This is not terrible. I do think that I need to probably maybe tack this in place, get it plumb, level, so on and so forth. Tack this in place so that I can keep the engine exactly where I want it. Then I can build all my mounts and stuff to come off the side. But before I do all that, I think I want to tack this so that I can remove the
the chains and put a cylinder head on each side and make sure that it looks like I'll at least be able to get some manifolds tucked down in beside the frame rail there.
Let this down. We'll see really quickly. We'll see. All right, that's good. Not too bad about that. All right, that means we can afford to. This is a good little hammer. There we go. So, pretty standard stuff for hot rod stuff, but to be honest with you, these are some eBay specials from like China or something. And they're good. Oh man. So now, this hose would block for sure is level in here if I have to. I suppose that would be smart to good to actually double check it. I don't want to have to do this. Like I say, I'd much rather really that plate kind of looks like in a cast versions of these that have like the ram horn.
Let's see if I can grab a wire brush
up right here. Though I don't know if they go in as far as these do. I think they tend to dump like right here over the middle. If that's the case, I wouldn't be able to use them. But one way or the other, this is very good because I do know I have a solution for this. One way or the other. I'm interested to see, does it translate just as well to this side?
Got no room to put a level up here actually.
And I have a feeling it probably does. This side is a little bit tighter. Once the exhaust turns, it goes towards the rear, and it's because tilted to the left side. I'll throw that thing over here. But really, adjusting these bolts again, not a big deal. So, a couple things going on. I don't want to let all this weight hang and the whole table tips over. So I may have to. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna do some hokey stuff, but it's gonna work. Got my 4.9" at the back there. I can just run a ratchet strap around the back of the frame and down to that axle, so it won't let the table tip. Go. Yep, that'll work. That's not dangerous. None of my friends want to be built to sell this shit. Do the same on this side. Double check that these will fit. But I have a feeling it's going to be A-okay. Set you up over here.
Come in a little closer here. Man, I gotta be honest, like that's pretty solid. It's nice and clean. If I really have to, I can run these headers. And honestly, I have them upstairs. I don't have any issue with them. I will say, I have stainless versions of these in my C10. Not a bad idea. And they're not bad. They really, even the cheap stainless ones that I got, I built an entire stainless system from scratch underneath my C10, and that's the only reason these are spares right now. Is these actually came out from when I originally put it together, and then because the rest of my exhaust system was stainless, I decided to go ahead and get some stainless headers, and I bought these same things in stainless. They've been, I really can't complain. They've been nice. This is very good. I'm really happy with this. Awesome. So what this tells me is my engine placement is good right now. This was my biggest concern. There's a few other things to be concerned about, and we'll go over those really quickly.
It's not something I really want to run,
but I do have
excuse me. Set of shorty.
So
block headers.
some of the other things I'm concerned about is
Headers.
all of my front engine accessories.
And honestly, if I do run,
there's got to be an alternator in here.
The cast.
No power
Chevy.
steering. I'm not doing any of that.
I guess
they're
early
just so light it doesn't need it.
Chevy small ones. I think they were in the 55, 56, 57
forward,
like
Air 265 or 283 is pretty high. Now, to be honest with you, I have seen a couple other people do a super small pump. I'm not sure what they come from, but it would really be nice if I could just put something over there that wasn't much bigger than the alternator. That'd be great, because I could just stick one on either side and call it done. I've got to run the short water pump. There's a short and a long for those that don't know. Anybody that's putting together Model A stuff like this, it's generally that you run the short water pump just because of the stack up of all of the other stuff. So you got to get a grill shell and radiator and pulleys and electric fan or a regular mechanical fan, whatever you decide to run. So you want to keep everything as short and tight to the block as you can. And so, yeah, I'll be doing that. The other concern that I have here is the mechanical fuel pump. You can see it's tight. Honestly, I'm not even going to run a mechanical fuel pump. This being the case, I'll probably just put a electric fuel pump on this and call it good. So that's just too tight. I'll just put a block off plate in there and call it good. But there's nothing else here other than the engine mounts, which is, I'm really glad that I've gotten to this point, because at this point I can go ahead and make up. All right. Well, I just had to put the headers on there just to see what it looked like staying there. That's nice, man. They clear pretty decently. It's about a 1/4 inch or so right here, and that's honestly, I haven't even ground down the frame, as you see.